Welcome to Device Squad, everybody, the digital transformation podcast from Anexinet. Some submissions have come in from our Name Our Podcast contest, and maybe if you want to write in, let us know which ones you like. Send your preferences to sbrickman, B-R-Y-K-M-A-N, at anexinet.com or Gruber at Anexinet.com. So here we go. Right off the bat, some Jewish themes. Kind of surprising. Not sure where that came from. Digital mensches. The first submission, not bad. The digital kibbutz. Okay, not sure everybody knows what a kibbutz is, but okay. Tech shtick. Tech shtick. A little hard to say. Kind of sticks in your throat, but not bad. Appy endings. Okay, I'm going to leave that there with no commentary. The digital schmingle, which is a good one because my wife submitted that one. And then we've got a couple of straight ones here. The digital strategy hour, the modern digital enterprise, and the digital enterprise podcast. Okay, so throw us an email. Let us know if you actually liked any of those, and we'll move on. So today we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to listen in as senior strategist Glenn Gruber and Maribel Lopez, founder of Lopez Research, present their most recent roundtable for the Emerging Tech Council. And if you'd like to learn more about the Emerging Tech Council, head over to emergingtechcouncil.com. And they will take it away right after this break.
As a leading technology consultancy and reseller, Anexinet helps clients provide a complete digital experience for customers, employees, and end users. We accomplish this through our holistic approach, which encompasses all aspects of today's digital journey, end-to-end. Anexinet partners with top technology vendors like HPE to offer products and services that enhance the digital experience across customer engagement, enterprise mobility, cloud and hybrid IT, and analytics, because great digital experiences rely on the smooth operation of all interconnected elements. From strategy through execution, we deliver custom multi-channel applications, including web, mobile, chat, and voice. With self-service apps for customer loyalty and enterprise apps that streamline internal processes, now you can reimagine legacy applications to propel your business forward. Anexinet also helps you embrace modern cloud and hybrid IT infrastructure to provide a seamless experience at every touchpoint, empowering you to recover quickly from disaster, scale to meet demand, and automate systems for perfect performance 24/7. And to maximize your competitive advantage, we ensure you always deliver the best experience possible by continuously honing your digital solutions through data-driven insights. So, how do you know if your business has what it takes to provide the complete digital experience? One that sets you apart, maintains competitive edge, and turns users into passionate fans? Simple. Just give us a call. Together, we can deepen engagement and make every digital experience remarkable.
Okay, we're live. Welcome, everyone. It's June 21st, a few minutes after 1, and welcome to our latest roundtable. We've actually got a really good slate today. Once again, I'm Glenn Gruber, your co-host along with Maribel of the ETC. I'm going to give a bit of a roundup on WWDC for those of you who either did not attend or haven't listened to hours and hours of the videos of the different sessions. But the focus is going to be kind of on what matters for the enterprise. And then Maribel is going to talk about her visit to the Microsoft Business Application Summit and a little bit of commentary on Google's buy of Looker, and then the almost immediate buy of Tableau by Salesforce. So let's transition. I'm going to try and walk through a lot of what happened at WWDC. It was actually, I think, one of the better WWDCs in a while, just because it spent a lot of time on a lot of different platforms. And it's actually one of the things that probably talked about least was iOS just kind of on its own. And I don't even have it on the highlights here. And I think that has to do with, a lot of maybe the maturity of iOS, but also just in terms of a lot of the other things that are happening within Apple, and even all the big hardware announcement of the Mac Pro, which is a beast of a machine if you can afford it and have the use for it. So, anyways, there were 5 different areas that I wanted to chat about. Again, as it relates to the enterprise, one was iPad OS, which I think was a really good positive step towards more use and better use of tablets within the enterprise. Some important changes in both device management and app distribution. And then from a framework perspective, some of the things that are going on in machine learning and augmented reality, I think, really significant. And then I'll just touch on a couple of odds and ends as well. So for iPad OS, I think that the way that they put it was, it's kind of things that are inspired by the Mac, but, basing it on iOS. There's a lot of things that they brought forward, from that we're used to in Mac OS, which really, I think, starts to make the iPad a little bit, a lot better of a tool. So things about file management, changes in multitasking, Pencil Kit, and a few other things. So let's just kind of step through those. So one was file management. And, I always, some of this is just going by how much applause do some of these things get from the audience during the keynotes or the platform State of the Union. So this definitely got a lot. And I think one of the challenges, which they've been making improvements over the last couple of years, is just the use of files, on the iPad. So I think, the Files app was one step forward. Now having kind of, column view, which is like bringing Finder, to the iPad. I think very big improvement, very well received. On the enterprise side of things, having the ability to file share using SMB with other systems. Also, I think a big improvement. And another thing that got big applause was both the thumb drive support. Another reason why USB-C is on the device instead of Lightning. And then also be able to handle zipping and unzipping of files. So, a lot of things that just make this easier to begin, sharing and using files from different systems. Multitasking, I think, some really good things. The ability to start to drag apps, into slide overview or to split view. I think that this, one of the things that I find makes these, keynotes really enjoyable is that, Craig Federighi has some really good comedic timing. So like when he showed that now you can even have a split view with third-party apps and, showing the 2 Microsoft Word documents and saying that's enterprisey right there. Is always kind of fun. But I think some of the other things of like slide over stack, where you're basically taking the multitasking from the iPhone, and then just applying that to the slide over, that secondary area for applications to be able to very, very quickly scroll through and switch from one app to the other, was, I think, really nicely done. And made a lot of sense to me. And I'm also glad to see the ability to have multiple windows for apps, with no upper bounds, at least that I saw. That even seeing where you can actually take, I think a good example was, a message, from mail and then just drag that out as a separate window, is really powerful. And something else that's also, I think, really exciting is the ability to kind of long tap on a notification and then just kind of drag that onto the screen as a new window, and get you right into using that as opposed to, launching it and then where do I launch it, all that kind of stuff. So I thought that's big step forward. Yeah.
Yeah, just to chime in here. So between Microsoft Build and WWDC, we're seeing a lot of this concept of dragging and dropping things. I noticed when we were at Build, there was a lot of, okay, we're going to drag this from a browser and pop it over here into Word and create this beautifully formatted document. Or to take a search that would have had a bunch of different prices for say we were buying a camera, and then drop that easily into an Excel and have it auto format just from the search without you copy and pasting a lot of things. So I think the drag and drop and the multitasking app thing is coming to all the platforms. We actually saw that with the Fold as well, with a lot of moving stuff around and dragging and dropping. So I think this is a different way of thinking about how your applications will interact and what you will be building as a user experience. So definitely something to think about as you're thinking of app modernization. That's it for me.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's good. Good insight to add there. So, yeah, and then app expose is just like another easy way to, another thing they brought forward from Mac OS. But I think generally it's a lot easier to manage Windows and manage your content and multiple applications than it ever has been. Again, maybe making the iPad a lot more of a viable tool for the enterprise en masse. Another night.
Just as another aside, this was kind of a surprise for the developers and for all the media in the audience. We thought there would be more coming together of the platform, but there was definitely like each of them are going to have their own OS now and take advantage of, there was the Watch OS, there was an iPad OS. It was extremely well received and very different than I think most of the rumor mill had. So that was interesting.
Yeah. So next thing to just touch on is just desktop class browsing, which for the most part is kind of like, well, of course, like it's a little bit of a finally type moment, I think, for some people. But again, bringing forward some Mac type things like keyboard shortcuts and download manager. But the fact that all of this, that being optimized for touch kind of comes for free. And showing how you can take a lot of applications that are web-based that we use in the enterprise and now have, because now this is, the iPad is viewed as a desktop browser rather than a mobile browser. And everything just kind of works. I think GitHub was a good example that was shown here. And I think also importantly, as you're designing custom applications for the enterprise, the fact that this capability now extends to web views within an app. So it's not just in Safari, it is basically that render engine you can utilize anywhere. I think has a lot of potential for building better apps within the enterprise. And then lastly, I think some of the advances that they made with PencilKit, and actually the fact that there is now PencilKit, and you can really take any of the pencil capabilities that they had really shown with primarily first-party apps. Now anyone could take advantage of this within their application. I think opens the door for getting more use out of the pencil, which is really a very fine control pointer device in a lot of ways, and not just for drawing, obviously. Some of the other advancements, just like the fact that they've continued to bring down the latency of writing using machine learning to try and even start to guess where you're going to draw next is really, I think, technically a very strong achievement. And then the markup everywhere. And frankly, I think that for me, the best thing out of this is the new full page capture of whatever you're looking at to do a markup, which is something that has existed in Android, but for me is always a pain in the butt when you want to capture an entire screen, or maybe a little bit, not just what's on the screen, but things that are below the fold, and mark those up and share it. I think that that's really, really great, and makes having that pencil to do that kind of markup even more valuable.
I'm wondering if anybody is actually using pencil or pen in any of their enterprise applications, or is this just something that is still being used individually?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of anyone who's doing this. I think that, yeah, prior to PencilKit being announced, it was very hard to really get a lot of leverage out of the pencil in anything that, you would design. I think, by you, I mean any enterprise. I know that they probably gave some capabilities to certain software development partners like Adobe to, bring that into their applications. But I think up until now, this was really out of the reach of, your typical enterprise or a smaller developer. So hopefully we'll see more. This is definitely one of those, Tim Cook, I can't wait to see what you do with this
Right.
type of moments. So then a couple of other things here that I thought were just interesting. I mean, Sidecar, which is basically where you can either, uh, you know, through the USB-C or just wirelessly, have your iPad act as a second screen to your, MacBook, uh, is really, I think, great. Like you think of all these people, especially developers who try and use multiple screens at the same time, but then lose that workflow and capability while they're on the road. Um, I think that's a really nice benefit. I think, like, again, little things like the pinned widgets, the fact that you can have that compact keyboard sort of in the bottom right corner, so that if you want to do kind of like one finger typing on the the iPad, that's a lot easier. And even font manager, so that if you have custom fonts, from that my corporate font is maybe something that's not always available, but now bringing that into the iPad just allows for better, full-throated kind of enterprise support. So I think a lot of cool things here, and a lot of things that we have an opportunity to build upon. So quickly, I also want to talk about device management, and definitely for device management and for app distribution, there are some good long form side sessions where you can see the videos if you go to developer.apple.com and look for the WWDC videos. So I would encourage you to look for that for greater detail. But just some of the things I want to highlight. So there's not going to be a managed user profile for BYOD devices for a little bit more security. SSO to get authentication to work a little bit easier. They've got a federated authorization with Microsoft Azure AD, so that's really good. And then the management of using Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager for education they're moving towards that as being the sole solution for purchasing and managing apps on the different devices. And then one thing that was called out, again, I would go back to the video for some more detail, but now that device management is for supervised devices, and now that iPad identifies as a desktop, it may impact some of your MDM enrollment flows. So if you know someone who's in charge of that, make sure that they watch that video and maybe do a little bit more research, because that, we don't want to cause any problems as we go. But to me, the bigger change was on the app distribution side. So, historically, we've had custom apps for partners and employees and different affiliates, and we were doing that as an in-house app distributed through MDM, but we always had to manage all of the certificates and so on. So now there's this move towards using custom apps, and then really a move towards having people similar to Google Play Protect to start to use Apple's App Store infrastructure, as it were. And I think that there was a few semi-pointed comments that this is a nod towards the recent Facebook and Google VPN apps, where even Apple for about 24 to 48 hours rescinded the certificates for Facebook and Google, that they're trying to move in this direction. And so, yeah, this is really good in a lot of ways, in terms of now you've got one place to manage all your apps, both public and private. It's covering all of your possible users of internal apps, even if they aren't employees per se. You get to leverage the App Store infrastructure, which is good, and have those links that is what you can use in MDM. But I think one of the big things here is that the apps don't expire because you're using the App Store. It's Apple who's signing their certificate, so you don't have to manage certificate expirations every 1 or 3 years or what have you, like you used to. So that just, I think, makes everyone's life a little bit easier. But of course, if you no longer have a developer account, then nothing works. But the only question that I have with this, and I don't know that there's a good answer for it yet, is the review process. So like it says, your reviewers need to access the full functionality of the app. So they encourage, or strongly suggest, or require, it's not quite clear, that you provide a demo ID for login so that the reviewers can do their review. I'm not sure that how this is going to exactly work, because it's not like you're going to let the reviewers have access to all of the back-end data and really see how things are working in production. So, especially if you're in the medical or healthcare sector or financial services, like that stuff we're not going to expose. So how they would actually do that review and see all the full functionality, who knows? Maybe they'll just end up doing just like static analysis. And again, similar to Google Play Protect, use some of the scanning technology to make sure that no malicious apps get implemented now that, again, they're using their infrastructure. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that finally manifests itself. But this is definitely the direction that they're going to go to. So like I said, a lot of benefits, but something that everyone should start planning for. So let's move to machine learning. So I think a lot of really good things here. Probably the most important is the Create ML tool, which really allows just about anybody, even someone like me, to start to create, test, and deploy machine learning models. So there's a lot of basic models that come free, and then some very simple tools to import your training data, import your test data, and exercise some of those models, so that you don't need a whole raft of data scientists, perhaps, to start to bring some machine learning into your applications. So I think that this is a really good step and kind of builds on ML Core that they've had for a while. I think the on-device model personalization, where you're not just having an algorithm to say that it's a dog, but now you can introduce, from, say, the pictures that you've taken on your phone, to identify that, hey, this, and start to label, some of that this is my dog, so that now, everyone gets their own personalized model. Not everything has to go all the way back up to the cloud. So there's better performance, there's security, you can work offline, it works all the time. And also you don't have to manage, millions of models up in the cloud. You really still manage that single model and then let it get better based on the individual's data. So I think that's another really big step forward in machine learning. And then another big framework improvement is what they're doing in augmented reality. So ARKit still continues to improve, but I think that the addition of Reality Kit and Reality Composer were really important adds. Reality Kit and Reality Composer very much like ML Create or Create ML, tries to take a technology that you needed to be very learned in maybe some arcane technologies and such in order to implement it. Now really put it in the hands for more people, and particularly for developers, to build augmented reality solutions without having to be expert at this. So Reality Kit abstracts away a lot of that previously needed knowledge. There's all sorts of camera effects and animations and physics engines built in. Better scene understanding. All this comes free. And then on the Reality Composer perspective, this is like the Create ML, where it's basically like drag and drop interface modeling. This can be used on all three platforms, Mac OS, iOS, and iPad OS. But one of the cool things about being able to use it on iOS and iPad OS is that now you can actually start to build and then test and tune those experiences right on those target devices. So I think some really cool things. And just from an overall AR kit perspective, what they were able to, again, these were like the very big applause moments from the back of the room type stuff of the people occlusion, to be able to put a person in a scene with all these other things. And if you move in front or behind some of these other elements, it's really like everyone's in the same room. And then the motion capture, which we started to see some of that in I don't know if it was the September event or if it was WWDC last year, where Steve Nash's home court app, where you could start to use motion capture to see how people are doing certain activities. Obviously that was looking at shooting form and so on for basketball, but all of these are now in ARKit 3. There's just tremendously more capabilities, and having Reality Kit and Reality Composer available to us as enterprises and developers, I think gives us an opportunity to pull forward, some of these ideas that we have a lot more rapidly. So definitely, I think something that people should be investigating. And then just a couple of other things I wanted to just call out quickly. Swift UI got huge rounds of applause. They did a lot to show how what used to be, hundreds of lines of code is now, just less than a dozen lines of code. And how it's just very clear. John Gruber from Daring Fireball said that there was a lot of claps for being able to quickly change the color from dot gray to dot blue. That it was just very obvious of what was going on, and he was surprised that there was all this clapping in the back of the room, but of something that's just seemed very obvious to someone who may not be coding 24 hours a day. But I think that the changes that they've made here, and the fact that this can get brought forward easily, through Xcode, through all of the different, designing for iOS, iPad OS, and Mac, just really some great stuff here.
Yeah, I think this was a huge win. And I think one of the things that we're starting to see is this is sort of the power of machine learning that has been applied to coding and changing the code and shrinking it. So yeah, definitely a great move there. Also, the other thing too is I noticed that they're trying to get it to the point where more and more people can develop easily with Swift, so that we can sort of minimize this gap of who's available to create applications. So it's gotten so much easier with this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that you can, start to do drag and drop of certain, elements and update those, and then the code magically appears on the other side. Again, maybe not creating super complicated UI or applications, and certainly not the business logic part of it. But it does, I think, make development a little bit more rapid, a little bit easier. Kind of along the same lines was Project Catalyst, which is what we saw as the 4 mostly horrible applications last year of stocks and notes, and I can't remember what the other 2 were. Where basically you take an app that was designed for iOS and then bring it forward to the Mac, basically now by one click of a checkbox. And it does a lot of the things to convert things that were touch activities or gestures and making them now mouse and pointer style activities. And one of the things I thought was interesting in an interview with Craig Federighi, where it was brought up that these 4 apps that they showed last year were kind of terrible. There was the question of, well, is this just that the underlying technology is better now and really ready for prime time? And Craig's answer was, it's definitely more mature, but some of their perspective is that it was just bad design decisions in terms of how you ported those iOS apps over to the Mac. So hopefully that's true, but definitely, Twitter is bringing things over. There was a presentation by a guy from Atlassian to bring Jira, and the fact that they were able to do this rapidly and with the same team who are managing their iOS apps, and now be able to bring high performing applications to the Mac and keep everything at parity is really good. And hopefully it performs better on a lot of ways versus like Electron apps, unfortunately Slack uses to get better performance on the Mac. And so we'll see how that goes.
Glenn, I'm not sure I know exactly where it is, but I do believe Federighi also mentioned that they had created some sort of design principles around what makes a good thing to port from A to B, like what some of the characteristics are and what you should be doing. So I can take a look around for that if anybody's interested.
Yeah, there was definitely one session that I took a look at that just talked about how you go, not just technically, but also design considerations, from iOS to the Mac using Catalyst. So I can look for that one and post that to Slack as well. But there's definitely a bunch of sessions around the Catalyst technology that are worth checking out. Last couple of things, the fact that Watch OS gains independence. I mean, having LTE on the watch last year provided some of that, where now you can start to go out without your phone with you. But even now they're taking that another step forward. You can actually now build native apps using Swift UI for the watch. You don't have to build an iPhone companion app necessarily anymore. And even a small app store, which is more of a curated app store, should be interesting going forward. And just, again, one more step towards the watch maybe being its own device and might be good enough for many people.
I think the watch is definitely going to be its own device. And I think the goal is to link more with healthcare providers and insurers and actually create the watch as a better platform. But it kind of needed to start this break to do that because you couldn't do enough of the design the right way with the existing software. So I think we'll start to see a lot more. You saw some really interesting new health stuff that happened that wasn't enterprise-y, but if I were an enterprise that built health stuff, I would be really curious to watch where this is going.
And then the last two things I want to touch on, the leaps and bounds that they've made with accessibility. I know it may not be super important for the enterprise, maybe getting to be a little bit more so. But the demo that they did, I thought was bonkers good. Like it was, it was really, really impressive. Being able to use the grids and just say Zoom. I think it also just showed how far they've come just with their natural language processing and the voice technology that they built. So maybe Siri isn't totally useless at this point, but very, very strong gains. I think also interestingly, now they really only have because a lot of this is being done, via Swift and is being made available across all platforms. They have one accessibility team, so they're putting a lot of focus, but making sure that as soon as they bring it to one platform, it comes free for every platform. So what they've done, I think, is really fantastic.
I also think it can be used across applications. And when you think of this is there will be some environments where doing things hands-free could be really interesting, and you can leverage all the work that's been done in accessibility for an enterprise-based app.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was just going to mention was the Mac Pro, which is beautiful and crazy expensive and ridiculously powerful. If you took it to everything that it was capable of, some of the things that they demonstrated, I'll never do. And I think most of us will never do, but some of the video editing of multiple 8K streams, 3 8K streams was just, crazy. And 1.5 terabytes of RAM, is just, it almost sounded like a misprint. But a really impressive device. And I think that for those of you who have been using the trash can Mac Pro for a while, and were continuously frustrated, if you have the cash, you certainly have a product that probably meets any need that you can throw at it. That's all that I had for the WWDC wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for staying on and listening, and hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.